Good morning, Heaven Bound family, and anyone who may be listening. This is Pastor Larry with a moment in the Word on this Saturday, and it's September the 12th already, near the middle of the month. Anyway, I came home from Bible study last night, and I found a little poem on my desk. I don't know where it came from. Don't know how it got on my desk while I was gone. But it's interesting, and I kind of thought, well, maybe this is an omen. Actually, I'm kidding about that, but who knows? Anyway, it led me to, or put the thought in my mind to maybe share with you tonight what Jesus says about his coming. In Matthew chapter 24, we have what's called the Olivet Discourse. And in the discourse, chapter 24 starts out, Jesus is walking away from the temple, and when he gets up to the disciples is bringing to his attention the wonder of the temple, and Jesus says, verily I say to you that there will not be a stone left standing. When he gets up to the Mount of Olives, there the disciples come to him privately and says, Lord, tell us. And they're going to ask for three things for him to tell. One is, when shall these things be? What things? When is the temple going to be destroyed? It was destroyed in 70 A.D. The other is, and what will be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? Now then, I want you to notice, number one, there's going to be two of Jesus's coming. In other words, the Apostle Paul talks about the fact that Jesus is coming in the rapture to snatch out or to rapture the saints of God, the church. Now then, this is not the coming that the disciples had in mind when they told Jesus, what is the sign of your coming? For they had even no concept of the fact that there was going to be a rapture. This is something that was revealed to the Apostle Paul concerning the mysteries that of the kingdom that God opened up to the Apostle Paul, and we read about it in First Corinthians 15, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 through 18, and also in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8. The other coming of Jesus is going to come at the end of the tribulation period. It's called the revelation. So we have the rapture, which will be the rapture of the saints of God, the church, the true church, the true, made up of true, born again saints of God. They're going to be raptured out, and then the earth is going to go through 7 years of tribulation. You can read about it in the Old Testament. It's called the time of Jacob's trouble. You can read about it in the New Testament. And it's this revelation, Jesus coming in his revelation, that the apostles had, or the disciples had in mind there when they asked Jesus, what is the sign of your coming? And when we read Matthew chapter 24, a lot of people try to make the signs that Jesus gives there in Matthew 24 apply to the rapture, and it doesn't apply to the rapture. Matthew is written by a Jew to the Jewish people. That's why Matthew speaks of the Messiah far more than any other of the Gospels speak of him. And so the disciples was thinking about when Jesus comes in his revelation to set up his kingdom at the end of the tribulation period. The other coming of Jesus will be at the end of the millennial reign, when Christ comes back to destroy this earth. Peter talks about it in 2 Peter chapter 3. He says there that the Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some men count slackness, but is long-suffering to us. We're not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But the day of the Lord shall come. in which the heavens will melt with a fervent heat. The earth also and the things therein shall be burned up. Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought we to be in all holiness and godly conversation, or godly living? And so the signs of the times here that the disciples are asking about, these will be signs that will appear between the rapture and the revelation. Now, let me say real quickly that sometimes the things that are going to happen will spill over into the preceding. In other words, some of these signs may come about prior to the church being raptured out, but it's just a spillover in getting ready for Jesus coming in the revelation. Now, with all that in mind, let me share with you a little poem. Actually, it's a Christmas poem. The thing is, Jesus may come before Christmas. In that case, I won't be here to read it to you, and I hope you won't be here to hear it. But it goes something like this. It says, was the night before Jesus came, and all through the house, not a creature was praying, not one in the house. Their Bibles were laid on their shelf without care, in hopes that Jesus would not come there. The children were dressing to crawl into bed, not once ever kneeling or bowing their heads, and Mom in her rocker with baby on her lap was watching the light show while Paul took a nap. When out of the east there arose such a chatter, and I sprang to my feet to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew with a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but angels proclaiming that Jesus was here, with a light like the sun, sending forth a bright day. I knew in a moment this must be the day. The light of his face made me cover my head. It was Jesus returning, just like he had said. And though I possessed worldly wisdom and wealth, I cried when I saw him in spite of myself. In the book of life which he held in his hand was written the name of every saved man. He spoke not a word as he searched for my name. When he said, it's not here, my head hung in shame. The people whose names have been written with love, he gathered to take to the Father above. By the way, that's the rapture. With those who were ready, he rose with a sound, while all the rest were left standing around. I fell on my knees, but it was too late. I had waited too long, and thus sealed my fate. I stood and I cried as I rose out of sight. Oh, if only I'd been ready that very night. In the words of this poem, the meaning is clear. The coming of Jesus is drawing near. There's only one life, and when comes the last call, we'll find that the Bible was right, or true after all. And so the poem concerning the rapture and the fact that Jesus may come at any time. My friend, let me say to you, Jesus may come at any time. There is nothing to keep Jesus from coming. Now let me say, also until this generation, this is the very first generation that Jesus could have come. For there are things that had to happen before he comes, even in the rapture. And that is, Israel had to come back to its homeland. And the gospel had to be preached around the world. And so forth. But, hey, those things have come about. Another thing that would have to come back, not before the rapture, but during the tribulation period, would be the technology that we have today, the computers. Only through them, only in this generation would the whole world be able to look upon and see what was happening in Jerusalem as the two witnesses were killed and then rose and came back to life after 3 days. So this is the first generation that Jesus really could have come back, For only in this generation has the final stage been set, making it possible for Jesus to come in the revelation. And before he comes in the revelation, he must come in the rapture. And it will happen at least 7 years prior to the tribulation period. So if this whole world should totally fall apart in the next 7 years, so that Jesus come back at the end of the tribulation, my friend, that means he may come back tonight. This is Pastor Larry with a moment in the Word. Make sure you're right to meet the Lord when he comes, whenever that is. And if you do that, then you'll be watching for his appearing. And if you do that, then Paul says you'll get a crown at the end of this life. Hey, be blessed. Bless someone. You'll bless God, and God can bless you. Have a wonderful day.